These are disturbing moments that show what life's like for KKK members behind bars in southern prisons. It starts with one inmate who found out fast that hate has consequences. Number 6. Larry Kevin Webster was a known white supremacist and active member of the Ku Klux Klan. In 1993, while facing charges of kidnapping and robbery, he was held at the Galveston County Jail in Texas. Because the jail was overcrowded, Webster ended up sharing a cell with several black inmates. Despite having visible Klan tattoos that made his beliefs clear, not long after being placed in the cell, the predictable happened. The other inmates beat him up. Webster suffered serious injuries to his face and elbow, bad enough that he had to be taken to the hospital for treatment. After recovering, Webster filed a lawsuit. He claimed jail officials should have known better than to house him with people he openly viewed as enemies and failed to protect him from harm. He represented himself in court, and in 2000, a federal jury agreed with him. They awarded him $55,000 in damages and blamed 2 jail officials for putting him in that situation. The jury called their actions shocking and offensive. Webster later served a 10-year sentence but was released on parole in 1997. He didn't stay free for long. He was arrested again and held in Houston for violating parole terms. Even after his legal win, Webster remained the same man, marked by the same tattoos and views that got him into trouble in the first place. Number 5. Jeremy Christian was no stranger to trouble. Before the attack that made headlines, he'd already served time for robbery and kidnapping. After his release, he got deep into far-right politics, openly suggesting white nationalist beliefs and attending extremist rallies in Portland. On May 26, 2017, he boarded a MAX train in Portland. 2 black teenage girls were sitting quietly. One of them wore a hijab. Christian started shouting racist and anti-Muslim slurs at them. 3 men, Taliesin Namke Meech, Ricky Best, and Mika Fletcher, stood up to stop him. That's when Christian pulled out a knife. He stabbed all 3 men. Best and Namke Meech died. Fletcher survived, but was badly hurt.
Watch him here. All your race-baiting bullshit. You ain't gonna be mayor either, bitch. You ain't gonna be mayor either, bitch. You fucking hoe. You fucking hoe. You fucking up my whole city. George Floyd. George Floyd. I should have killed you, bitch. I should have killed you, bitch. Everybody knows you're alive. Everybody knows you're alive, huh?
Christian didn't run. He stayed on the scene, yelling about free speech and hate. When police arrested him, he kept talking, showing no remorse. His trial took place in early 2020. The evidence was overwhelming. Witnesses had seen everything. Videos backed it up. The jury found him guilty of murder, attempted murder, and hate crimes. Now, Jeremy Christian sits in a cell for the rest of his life. Number 4. Leonard William Armstrong was once a high-ranking leader in the Ku Klux Klan. He served as the Grand Dragon of the Tennessee White Knights and was known for pushing racist and violent views. In 1990, he took those views further. On the night of June 10th, he organized a drive-by shooting at the West End Synagogue in Nashville. The building was empty, but bullets tore through its windows. Armstrong didn't act alone. Damian Patton drove the car, and a Christian music producer named Jonathan David Brown helped them after the attack. The FBI got involved. By the end of 1991, Armstrong was indicted for violating civil rights laws. He later pleaded guilty as a part of a sealed deal. In 1992, he was sentenced to 42 months in federal prison. That could have been the end of his story, but it wasn't. During his time behind bars, something changed. Armstrong started to rethink everything. Years later, he admitted he had been the driving force behind the shooting. In a 2020 interview, he said, "I was the guy who was at the root of this whole thing." He didn't stop at words. He joined Life After Hate, a group that helps former extremists leave behind violence and hate. He went from firing bullets into a house of worship to working against hate. It's not a clean redemption, but it's a start. Number 3. Frank Mink grew up in South Philadelphia. He had a rough childhood, a violent home, and a broken family. At 13, while visiting a cousin in Lancaster, he was introduced to white supremacist ideas. By 15, he joined the Ku Klux Klan. After getting kicked out, he started his own skinhead crew, Strike Force.
The movie is called American History X, and it's controversial and brutal in its portrayal of skinhead violence.
Drop your weapon!
But a young man who could have been the inspiration for the film says Hollywood can't touch the real thing.
If it's as violent as the real skinhead movement and as hateful as it really is, I mean, I think some people won't even be able to stand and sit in the same room.
Frank Mink is a former skinhead. How did they indoctrinate you once you felt good about being part of the group? What sort of philosophy did they impart on you?
Well, they give you a lot of stuff. When you read the stuff that Aryan Nations gives you, okay, and you have these pamphlets, and being a 13, 14-year-old kid, you're reading this stuff and you're thinking that you're unlocking something, that you now have this power to go out and debate about your beliefs, and when you get that type of stuff and you're so proud of being a skinhead, you know what I mean, it all like ties them together to make you believe it, you know what I mean, because you want to believe it.
He wasn't just a follower, he became a leader. He hosted a cable show called The Reich, where he spread hate on air. Then came the crime that changed everything. On Christmas Eve 1992, he kidnapped and tortured someone from an anti-fascist group. He filmed the whole thing. He was 17 when police arrested him. The court gave him 3 years for aggravated kidnapping. In prison, things shifted. He played football and basketball with black inmates, the very people he claimed to hate, but they treated him like a teammate. That cracked something open. After he got out, he tried to keep to his old beliefs, but the hate didn't fit anymore. A job with a Jewish antique dealer in New Jersey pushed him further. The man knew who Frank was, but he hired him anyway. That kindness stuck. Years later, a DNA test showed Frank had Jewish ancestry through his mother. He began learning the faith and eventually became an observant Jew. Now he speaks out against hate. He wrote a memoir and works with groups like the FBI and Anti-Defamation League. He even runs a hockey program to bring kids from different backgrounds together. Number 2. Russ Kluskin grew up surrounded by violence, drugs, and poverty. Trouble found him early. By 15, he was already in prison for armed robbery. Over the next 35 years, he spent 27 of them behind bars. While serving time, Kluskin joined the Aryan Brotherhood of Texas, a dangerous white supremacist gang. He didn't just join, he rose to the top, eventually becoming its president in the late 1990s. His world was violence, hate, and control. Things didn't start to shift until he landed in solitary confinement. 7 years alone in a cell gave him time and space to think. At first, he was angry and hardened, but when a guard handed him a Bible, something started to crack. He resisted it for a while, then finally opened it. Slowly, he began to change. Kluskin let go of the Brotherhood. He renounced the gang. He stepped away from everything he'd built inside prison walls. Instead, he turned to faith. His days became about reading, praying, and figuring out who he wanted to be on the outside. In 2013, he got out. This time, he didn't go back to crime. He got involved with prison fellowship, working as a re-entry specialist. He helped people like himself, ex-inmates, trying to rebuild. Kluskin's story is a slow, steady change, from prison gang leader to mentor, from hate to healing. He doesn't pretend to be perfect, but he proves that people can find their way out, even in the darkest corners. Number 1. Don Black, born in 1953 in Athens, Alabama, is a notorious American white supremacist with a long history of involvement in extremist groups. His journey into the world of hate and racism began in his teenage years when he started distributing racist literature in high school. By the 1970s, Black was heavily involved in the political scene, working on the campaign of segregationist J.B. Stoner for governor. It was during this period that he crossed paths with Jerry Ray, the brother of James Earl Ray, the man who assassinated Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. In 1975, Black joined the Ku Klux Klan, an infamous white nationalist hate group. Over time, he became a significant figure within the Klan, ultimately rising to the position of Grand Wizard, National Director in 1980 after David Duke's resignation. He even ran for mayor of Birmingham, Alabama in 1979. Although he only received a meager 2.5% of the vote. Despite this political failure, Black's influence in white supremacist circles continued to grow, and he played a key role in several radical schemes. One of the most audacious was Operation Red Dog, a plot aimed at overthrowing the government of Dominica, a small Caribbean island. The operation, which sought to reinstate former Prime Minister Patrick John and establish profitable operations in tourism and offshore banking, was thwarted in 1981. when Black and several others were caught in New Orleans, preparing to board a boat loaded with weapons. Convicted under the U.S. Neutrality Act, Black was sentenced to 3 years in prison.
All right, we are back on the Young Turks, and Ron Paul's been getting a lot of heat.
During his time behind bars, Black took up computer programming, a skill that would later allow him to create Stormfront in 1995. The site became one of the first major online platforms for white supremacist ideologies, serving as a hub for neo-Nazi content and Holocaust denial. Stormfront's creation marked a turning point in how hate groups operated, giving them a new avenue to spread their message and recruit followers from around the world. After his release in 1984, Black continued his involvement in white nationalist politics. He ran for U.S. Senate as a populist party candidate in Alabama, though he never achieved significant political success. In 2008, he attracted attention for donating to Ron Paul's presidential campaign, an act that sparked media controversy given Paul's past association with extremist views. Perhaps the most striking aspect of Black's legacy is his son, R. Derek Black, who was once poised to inherit his father's role in the white nationalist movement. However, after attending New College of Florida, Derek had a change of heart. He formed friendships with students from diverse backgrounds and ultimately renounced his racist beliefs, becoming a vocal advocate against the very ideologies his father had spent his life promoting. Do you think prison is a successful ground for KKK members to renounce their beliefs? If so, let us know in the comments below. If you enjoyed this video, please like, comment, subscribe, and turn on notifications to see more videos just like this.